To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las
This here's
puertas.
a wild ride into wisdom.
So today on Miles from Main Street, we are live and we are coming to you and we're talking about Magic Kingdom rides. It's the first time we're doing this, so we're a little nervous, if you can't tell. And but we're going to do it and it's going to be fun. And it's the first recording that we have on the YouTube with this. So we've got a lot to get through. We're going through Magic Kingdom rides. We're going to rank them. We're going to kind of do this where I'll give a score, and then Brian's going to give a score, and we'll see what we come out with, and we'll see where these rides rank between the two of us.
Yes, we did this with Epcot, and I thought that went really well. I hope you guys enjoyed the show too. Feel free to leave some comments in the comment box, live chat. Let us know if you're watching live, you know, what you're thinking of all of our rides, and also, you know, if you're watching it on the replay, send us your thoughts on the Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and we'll go over all that at the end of the show. But in the meantime, if you're watching this, please share it out. Let everybody know how much you love Miles from Main Street and that we're here and we're talking live about Magic Kingdom rides. So please join us there.
Yes, and it will be fun. I promise it's going to be some fun stuff. But let's just kick it off. Just jump into the very first ride. The first ride we have for you guys today is Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin. We're gonna give this a it's gonna be 1 out of 10, and for this ride, for me, this is a fun ride. I very much enjoy this ride. I'd probably give this ride somewhere between like a 7-ish, or if not even an 8, just because it's so fun. But I think I'm gonna go with 7 for this ride. It's a fun ride. You kind of like get to shoot stuff. I've never gotten the full all of the 9s. I've never gotten that high score, but I've tried, and I've looked up YouTube videos of how to do it, and I've tried to do those things, but it's actually pretty tough.
It is pretty tough. I have gotten about 600,000. Getting closer. I know that the big robot, the big orange robot, there's a target at the bottom of him. That's the one that I've been going for. I have not been able to get many more yet. So I got my work cut out for me yet. But yeah, that is one that I really enjoy. I'm going to give it a 6 because it does need some updating. Not the ride itself, just like fix it a little bit, I guess, is all I'm really looking for. So I'm giving it a 6. But next, we're going to stay in Tomorrowland. And we're looking at the People Mover. This one is one of my favorites. It's one that we have to do every single time we're there. There's so much historical significance with this ride. I just love it. It's a great one to get on to relax, but it's also very entertaining. And, you know, paging Mr. Morrow, I love that line. But I'm giving this an 8. How about you, Mikhailo?
You know, I'm also giving it an 8, and for all of the same reasons that you said. It's one of those rides where it's like to normal people, they're kind of like, oh, like it just kind of like moves around, like, and it just like goes into all these areas. But like being able to see Space Mountain the way that you get to see Space Mountain when you're going through there is really cool, and that's something that I very much enjoy with my rides on there.
Yeah, it's really cool to get on there and see it, see Space Mountain with the lights on. So yeah, definitely. I missed your score. What were you giving it?
We both gave it an 8.
An 8.
Yep, 8's all around.
Sounds good to me. 8's all around.
So next we are talking about the Carousel of Progress. This is another ride that's kind of that same way where it's like to not like Disney savvy people. It might be kind of like a weird ride to go on, but it's got a lot of historical significance. Walt worked on it. It was kind of Walt's passion project. He really enjoyed doing that for the World's Fair. But yeah, it's one of those rides where like if there is a long line for it, which can sometimes happen, like I'm not gonna wait in line for it, but it is something that like I try to hit most of the time when I go. So for this ride, I'm giving it a 5, just because it's one of those rides where it's like it's a fun ride that like I would go on, but like it's more of a 5 because it's like a ride. But this is like a decent 5. Like this is a proud to be 5. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I would. I'm going to give it a 6. It's one of those that I'll skip it if need be, but it's also extremely important to the company and where it got Walt in his journey. It's something that I cherish. So, and if nothing else, it's good for some air conditioning and a nap if you need it.
It's good for a seat sometimes. Definitely. Well, next we've got Space Mountain. This is a ride that I do enjoy, and actually like my family enjoys it too. I know my brother really enjoys this ride, and it's another ride that has a lot of history in it, and it actually originated at Disney World, which is different than a bunch of these rides, but yeah, it's a fun roller coaster ride. The roller coaster itself is kind of like nothing to really ride home to, but it's the theming that like really makes this ride like this like outer space theming, and it's almost kind of like old school outer space theming, because the ride is very old and it hasn't really been updated all that much. But like I like it, and it's fun, and it's a cool ride to go on. And I'm gonna give this ride. I mean, I would love to give this ride an 8, but just because of like it just hasn't been updated, and the Disneyland one is way better, I'm gonna give it a 7.
That's what I also gave it a 7. It can beat you up a little bit. It's a little bumpy, but I love the theming. I love walking in. I love walking out. I missed the conveyor belt that they had for you on the way out.
Yeah, that was so fun.
It was fun. But I do enjoy the displays on the side as you're walking out for like the furniture place and some of the other advertisements they have on the travel agency, I believe, is one of them on your way out. So, it's enjoyable to a point. My wife doesn't want to ride it anymore. She's had too many negative experiences. So, that's all right. That's fine. But finishing up what's going on in Tomorrowland, let's talk about the Astro Orbiter. This
Orbiter.
Yes.
This is one that I think is fun.
So I'm sorry.
This is one that I think is fun, but I think I thought it was going to be a lot cooler than it was when I first wrote it. What do you think, Brian?
I think it can be fun. It's got some really good views. But again, this is a skippable one for me. I'm gonna give it a 4.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty low on my list. I actually, so it was funny. I thought it was going to be really cool because I had never ridden it before the first time I wrote it, and it's cool, kind of like going up the elevator and like going in there and like getting on your rocket. But like that's where the excitement ends. As soon as you're on your rocket, unless you're like afraid of heights, and like that might be kind of frightening. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of forgettable. I was actually gonna give it a 3.
Okay.
Even though I do enjoy parts of it, I would give it a 3. So, yeah,
I can see that. I can see giving it a 3. It's just one of those that take it or leave it, I guess.
Yeah.
But next is my absolute favorite. And because it's my favorite, I'm doling out the first 10 tonight.
Wow.
Yes. This is going to Big Thunder Mountain. This is my absolute favorite ride in the entire all of Disney World. This is great. So I definitely love it. Remember to remove your hats and glasses, because this is the wildest ride in the wilderness. What is there to say? I can't say too much about it other than you go on a wild train, right? Like you're going crazy. So, I love it. I love everything about it. The theming. I love the little nods they have to the Apple Dumpling Gang in the queue, the nods to some of the Imagineers that worked on it in the queue, and the goat. I mean, how can you not love the goat? So, yes, a 10 for me, Mikhailo.
Wow. Yeah. I'm not going to give it a 10. I'm sorry, Brian. And this is one of those rides where I don't know why the queue always feels like it's a million degrees. But I always feel like I'm like on fire when I'm in the queue. And it's probably because the rock work and everything. It just makes you feel like you're hotter, which means the theming is good. But I don't know. I do enjoy it. Again, I've also been on the Disneyland one, and I think the Disneyland one is better. So Brian, you should probably try to get on that one. But yeah, for me, I would love to give it an 8, but I feel like I have to give it a 7. Just because it's just not up there. It just doesn't do it for me. It's a fun ride. I think the reason I would give it a 7 is because like I don't know if I'd wait an hour for it. Like if I saw that this ride was an hour, like I don't know if I'd wait in that line. I think I'd skip it at that point. So yeah, I'd have to give it a 7. However, Brian, when we go together, I'll go on Big Thunder Mountain and I'll have a lot of fun.
Well, that's it, right? I think that's why it's my favorite. It's so much fun. Mm-hmm. Not much more I can say about that. But right next to Big Thunder would be Splash Mountain. Mm-hmm. It's getting a redo coming up here at some point. But in its current form, I'm enjoying it. I always love doing it. My kids have always loved it. I own a hat that fell off of my head and fell in the water, and they sent it to me. So I have a core memory, as people like to say nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love everything about the ride. The animatronics are great. The grand finale is wonderful. You get that 60-foot drop and into the Briar Patch, and then into that song scene with the big paddle boat. That's the word I'm looking for. So, yes, I am going to give this a 9.
Nice. Yeah. I am also going to give this a 9. And I have very good feelings of this ride as well. It was one of the rides where I realized that like my brother and sister are as into Disney as I am. So that made me feel real good when that happened. But it's like got that Disney whimsical feel. It's like when I think of a classic dark ride, this is a ride that I think of. And I don't know, it's just got that great feeling. It's also very cool because there's like many levels to it, and then it takes you up. So I very much enjoy that. My favorite area is I don't know why it feels more like dark and wet, but it's like the area where like with all the springs. I really enjoy that area. I think that's really cool. But I mean, yeah, it's just like your classic Disney dark ride, and it's done very well. So I very much enjoy that. But yeah, I would give it a 9. Definitely one of my favorite rides at Disney.
Yeah, I totally agree with your score. I can go with that. Let's move over to Fantasyland, though.
Mhm.
Looking at Prince Charming's carousel. Some people like to say it's the only thing he got in the divorce.
I've never heard that before. That's funny.
But I really enjoy what it is. Some would say it's the most expensive ride vehicle you can get on, because this was an original carousel used in Pennsylvania, and they bought it there in in the 1970s. Actually, I guess before that, and brought it to Florida, repainted all of the horses, and having this in here though, and I want to say it's from the 1900s or 1910s, somewhere in there, making it the oldest and also the most expensive, because these horses could fetch a lot of money if they were broken up. So I think that's pretty cool. Keep an eye out for the horse with the bow on its tail. That is Cinderella's horse. But notice how everyone gets to ride a white horse, because they want to all be on the same horse, right? So this is one, though, I've been one to skip it many times. I feel like once you've been on a carousel, you've been on a carousel. So I'm going to give this one a 5.
Yeah, it's funny, Brian. You had a lot to say about it, which it has a lot of history, but it's it's hard for me. I honestly I don't think I've ever ridden this ride too. So it's like I actually think I have when I was real little, but I just always run right past it just because it's just not something that I'm looking to ride. I'm going to give this ride a 2, just because like
A 2.
it might be fun like when I have a kid and I like have my kid on there and like we're having fun, and it's like one of the few rides we can ride like with our kid, interacting with our kid, having fun, something like that. But I mean, at this point right now, it's just not something that I'd be interested in. So yeah, I would give it a 2.
Okay, well, to each their own, I guess.
Yeah. You I mean, you're into the history stuff, and so that makes sense.
Yeah, I guess because of some of the tidbits I know about it, I think it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I always have the music running through my head after a day in the Magic Kingdom, because I just enjoy hearing that. So it has some meaning to me. I guess I just don't need to ride it to have that. So let's go to the edge of Fantasyland, though. Get a little mad tea party. Who likes to spin crazily? I my family, last time we were there, tried to get on it, and there was only one teacup left, and I'll tell you what, the 5 of us could not fit in one little teacup. So I said, you guys have a great time, and walked out and waited for them to finish, because my son really likes to spin it, and so I don't feel the greatest after that. So for that, I'm going to give it a 5, because there is some historical significance. I'm probably going to say that a lot tonight, but there is some historical significance to the Mad Tea Party. I mean, it is an original Disneyland ride, and opening day, I should say. And Alice in Wonderland was a big movie for Walt Disney, and so I do enjoy it.
Yeah, it's something that actually has. When I recently went on it, I went on it with somebody special who really enjoyed it, and that kind of like changed it for me, because this again was another thing that I was just like always walking past and like never actually like thinking about. And then once I had somebody in my party who was really into it, who wanted to ride it and like had a lot of fun on it, that completely changed it for me. And so this usually would have been something where like it sat around a 5, because it was like I could ride it and it means a lot to Disney, but like I would skip it. But like honestly, it's getting upgraded to a 6, where it's like maybe we ride this every time, because I had those experiences with it recently. And that kind of goes along with the carousel, where it's like like right now it means nothing to me. Maybe later it might mean more to me. And that's kind of the same thing here, where like I had a good experience with it with somebody, and it means a little bit more. So that kind of bumped it up that one extra step to a 6 instead of a 5. So,
And the next ride, I have that same type of memory with. My wife loves Winnie the Pooh, and so on our honeymoon, it was being constructed. So I have a picture of her next to the construction wall. And then we were able to go back with the kids and actually get on it and ride it. And she loved it. We ride it every time we go now. I do enjoy it. I think it's great. The nod in there of a owl handing over the deed, or accepting the deed from Mr. Toad, I think is a great nod. I think a lot of the effects, like this one we're watching right now with the Pooh falling asleep and going into Heffalump and Woozle Town.
yeah.
I think it's great. It's so much fun to me. I've always enjoyed Winnie the Pooh, so I really enjoy this one. I'm giving it an 8.
Wow. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I think when I wrote it, I mean, I've never, this is another one where like, I just don't have to write it. But when I do write it, I do have fun, and I do enjoy, what's going on in the ride. And so I don't know, it doesn't mean that much to me. And when I do ride it, like, I'm kind of like, oh yeah, this is fun and whimsical, but like, I don't know. For me, I mean, I think I'm going to give this one, I'm kind of torn, because I could give it like a 7 almost, just because of like I do enjoy it and there's a lot of really cool effects. But I think I'm going to give it a 6, just because it just doesn't really pull me towards that ride all that much. I end up kind of running past it trying to get to other rides. So I'm going to go with the 6 tonight.
So you mean to tell me Bouncing with Tigger is not worth it to you?
I mean, it's fun. But there are other things I'd rather be doing. And I think that just kind of comes down to, like, it just doesn't have that pull for me. So
all right, well, I'll get over it. How about Peter Pan's Flight? Kind of crisscrossing across Fantasyland, but Peter Pan's Flight. It's always confusing to me, right? It's an omni-mover, but it always has one of the longest wait times in the park.
Oh, yeah, it's so weird.
It really is. I enjoy it. It's a great dark ride. I love that you're flying over the city and you get to see all these battles going on. And the queue is really cool. Maybe that's why everyone's in line so long, because the queue is so cool. But I can't wait in that line that long for that ride for some reason. I just don't feel it's worth it to me. So I am going to give it an 8. I think it is pretty fun and pretty good, even though I'm not willing to wait in that line.
Yeah, and I'm on kind of the same wavelength, where like it's a really cool ride, and there's some stuff in there that's really cool. And I feel like the thing that kind of gets it for me is the ride vehicle. How like you're in a ship and you're like flying through everything. Like, that's so cool. And so that's kind of what elevates the experience for me. But again, it's just like, it's your classic Disney dark ride. There's a lot of cool things going on. But again, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it why people like this ride so much. I mean, I do. I enjoy this ride, but I'm not waiting 120 minutes for this ride. And that can happen like very often, very often. And so, yeah, it's a fun ride. I will also give it an 8. Just because of like it's a great ride, but I'm not going to wait a long time for it. But yeah, and I still I feel that same way, where like I just don't get why lines are so long. Maybe it does have something to do with capacity or something like that, but and maybe it's just not as popular as we think. But I don't know. That is an interesting thing.
Yeah, it is. I've always been confused by that. But another ride that doesn't earn the weight that it has would be Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I think it can be fun. I love the dwarfs, always have. So them having their own ride really thrilled me. I was really excited for that. But it's not worth the wait. It is an easier roller coaster. So, it's a step up from maybe the dog, Slinky Dog. Sorry,
Slinky Dog.
The Slinky Dog roller coaster. Yeah. It is maybe a little step up from that. But I don't know. I just don't feel like it deserves the weight that it has, and maybe that's a capacity issue. But this is definitely one that I'm going to rope drop or skip. I'm not going to, and even rope dropping is difficult for me. I have not been faced with the choice of having to pay for it yet. So I don't know if I will or not. I might. But onto my score, I would give it a 7. What say you?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it an 8 just because it's a decent ride. My biggest, and I feel like a lot of what's happening in the ride is very cool. But it's just very short. And a lot of people were talking about how like you get to sway in this ride, but I mean you don't really do it that much.
No,
I
you
think
don't.
I think it was a little more intense back when they were testing it, and then they reined it back a little bit. But I mean, yeah, it's very short. There's like one little area where you get to see a lot of really cool animatronics, and then you're out again. But I honestly, it gets an 8 because of the last scene. I think it's so cool that they have animatronics moving around a building. Like honestly, that's that's the coolest part for me on this ride is like the last scene. And so yeah, it gets an 8 because like it's a decent ride and it's a decent roller coaster, but like I don't know, it's short and it could be so much more. So yeah,
it's very true. It could be so much more. So going on from there, we have Under the Sea: Journey of the Little Mermaid. This one is one of my faves because of that core memory. There's that term again. But I got to ride this for the first time with my daughter, who is a huge fan of Little Mermaid. And we sang those songs together all the way through. And it was so much fun to do that. I'm going to give this a 7. It is a wonderful ride. It's very simple, but I mean, the amount of animatronics in there and the amount of, I don't know, story that is told. I don't know. It's just a wonderful ride, but it's a dark ride. It's not up there with the big hitters. That being said, it always has a decent wait. So it's not something you have to wait a long time for most of the time. So, like I said, I would give it a 7.
Yeah, this is kind of a sleeper ride for me because I actually really enjoy this. I'm a big lighting nerd, if you know me in real life. And so I really enjoy a lot of the different effects that they do in this ride and the different things that they do with the queue and everything. I think that's really cool. This is probably like the coolest queue that Disney has with all the different things you can do. And so with all of that in mind, I'm actually going to give this a 9. And that's also just because like taking all of those things into account, the awesome queue that they have, and the ride that's there. I don't know. It's kind of a sleeper hit for me. I very much enjoy it. And I don't know. There's just something about it that I really like, and there's a lot of really cool effects. And I think just all of that put together really does it for me. And the fact that I don't really have to worry about a really long line for it also gives it points. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the 9.
A 9. That's awesome.
Mhm.
So I'm going to do two things right here. I'm going to call out my daughter. She just messaged me and said, "How dare you give it a 7?" So I'm going to challenge her to go to the comments, and I'm going to challenge the rest of you watching to go to the comments and let us know what you would give the Little Mermaid ride. Maybe we can come up with a more consensus type of number here. Apparently I've upset my daughter. Sorry, Paige.
You don't want to do that.
No, I don't want to do that. How about Pirates of the Caribbean? This one is a classic. If I can get historical quickly, this first debuted in Disneyland, and it was a big hit, and everybody loved it. So when they opened Disney World in Florida, everyone came in looking for the pirates, and they did not put pirates in there because they didn't think people living in the Caribbean would be interested in Pirates of the Caribbean. I said that differently both times. So they quickly put in Pirates of the Caribbean. Maybe give us a comment as to which one of those pronunciations is right. I don't know. Anyway, I love it. It's gave us a great movie franchise, which then gave us another ride, or a ride that goes with it, I guess. So Pirates of the Caribbean is a 9.
9. Yeah. I would have to say I would agree with you. I would definitely give this a 9, if not a 10. And I'm thinking about that right now. I'm mulling it over.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely one of those real good rides, and it's your typical dark ride. And I love that Walt worked on it. And he was able to do all of those things, and it wasn't going to go to the Magic Kingdom at first, and then it went in. And I don't know. This was my favorite ride at one point at Disney. This was a ride that like my family just needed to go to every time. And I really enjoy how you feel like you're floating through the story. They do it very well. So yeah, I'm actually going to give it a 10. I've convinced myself into it. So yeah, it's Pirates of the Caribbean gets a 10. I very much enjoy this ride. I look forward to it all the time whenever I go. I liked the movies. They've kind of started to incorporate the movies to it. So yeah, giving it a 10.
If you're in Disneyland, you can get Johnny Depp in there sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's ever going to happen again, but hey, that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Backing up to Little Mermaid, Paige weighed in. She says a 10. You saw that pop up as we were talking, and my other daughter, Mia, my younger daughter, she's giving it an 8. So keep us going here, guys, with any comments you have while we're going through this. If you could share out the stream to everybody, that would help us out greatly. If you could let people know we're doing this, and even after we're done, sharing it out can really help us out, get people involved. Finally, before we move on to our last few rides here, give us a thumbs up on YouTube there. Let YouTube know that you're enjoying this content so that we can be noticed a little bit.
I believe the term is like and subscribe.
Oh, yes.
I believe that's what we got to say. Like and subscribe.
Or if you're watching some of those Disney World streamers, they like to call it bopping, smashing.
Yes,
the like button.
Smash that like button.
Yes.
Smash it, mash it, put it in a stew.
There you go. Whatever that means. So, Mikhailo, where are we headed next?
Next, we have the Jungle Cruise. And I actually, I'm just going to say, I very much enjoy this movie. I thought it was a very good movie, but I'm also a Disney nerd, so of course I'm gonna like it. But this again was a ride. It's another kind of sleeper hit for me. It's actually kind of it's a bigger ride, so I think that's cool too. And I mean, everybody always talks about the skippers. The skippers are hilarious. And it actually started more deadpan. It started more kind of like, here is the jungle. And then after a while, they started to add the funny in. And so I thought that was cool. So I actually very much enjoy this ride. I'm going to give this ride an 8.
To get more a little more accurate for you, yes, it started as a straight up script of, here's this animal, here's a hippo, here's a elephant, and the cast members, the skippers, were getting tired of that same old trope and started adding in puns and different jokes, and it quickly evolved to having a script like we're seeing today. This one I have to give a 9. My son had a great experience. Not only did my son have this great experience, but for myself, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy the humor in it. I enjoy the backside of water. Who cannot? But my son was just eating up these puns. He loved it so much. And the skipper noticed that. So as we came to the cave, if you've been on the ride, you know of the cave where it gets all dark and there's all kinds of gold statues and stuff in there. The skipper doesn't talk during that time. You get to just kind of enjoy the scenery at that point. She knelt down next to him and continued with the puns. And I was sitting too far away. I wasn't able to hear it, but he was just dying over this, like eating up every word. And it was just one of those things. My wife was sitting right there. She was laughing hysterically at the whole thing. So I just have that memory every time I see or hear about Jungle Cruise, and it's one that I have to ride every time. And the plane boss in there, it's the other half of it was in the Great Movie Ride.
Great Movie Ride. Yep.
Yes. So I always thought that was an interesting little tidbit. The new additions I think are interesting. I have not been able to ride it with the new script yet. I was there when they were still changing it over. So I'm looking forward to the new script. I'm sure it's not changed a whole lot, but
no, and I wrote it with all the new stuff, and I mean, I noticed it because I know that ride well, but it still had that same feel. So I was fine with it, and I don't think it hurt the ride at all in any way. So, but next we have the Magic Carpets of Aladdin. This is a pretty fun ride. It's kind of like another Dumbo, and for that reason, a lot of times I'll kind of like skip it and walk past it. This was something that I needed to do on my newest trip that I went on because I had somebody with me who really wanted to ride, and it was fun. But it's still kind of your like typical like Dumbo style ride. So with that, I'm actually gonna give it a 5, where it's like I would ride it again, like 100%. Like I don't think it's a bad ride, but it's just kind of like one of those rides where I'm like, like I'm not gonna wait in line for too terribly long for it. So yeah, I'm just gonna give it a 5 just because it's like middle of the road, like typical. I mean the Dumbo is better. And so, I mean, if you're going to ride something like this, you might as well just ride Dumbo. But yeah, 5 is kind of what I'm going for.
Yeah, I don't like this ride. It seems to be shoehorned in to this part of the park. Yeah. As you said, we've already got Dumbo, 2 of them, in fact. Why do we need Magic Carpets of Aladdin? I guess the only benefit it has is it's a people eater at times.
Mhm.
But it's right across the walkway from Jungle Cruise, which is Adventureland. It is part, right there in the courtyard with the Tiki Room, which is Adventureland. Those types of things kind of fit for me, but Aladdin doesn't do it for me in there. So I'm giving this a 2.
Wow.
So,
Yep.
and that's generous because I know my daughters enjoy it.
Okay. Yeah, and that kind of might change. And I was thinking about this too, about this ride is like, yeah, we've got a couple rides that are very similar to this ride, like Dumbo and Astro Orbiter. But again, like if I had a kid and this was one of the only rides I could go on with my kid, I'd probably very much enjoy this ride a lot more because of those experiences that I could have. So that's another thing to think about. We Brian, you have kids, but they're much older, and I haven't had kids yet, so it's like you don't have that feeling yet. So
You'll get there. I'm sure it'll be fun down the road to see what your scores would become after you've been able to do it with kids.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll have to check this in 10 years and see what you have to say.
Yeah. But this next ride, the next ride that we're talking about is Haunted Mansion.
What ride?
And
what?
What?
I've never heard of it.
No. Haunted Mansion.
There was a movie with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, it was a great movie too. They also had one with Muppets. But Haunted Mansion, 100% one of my favorite rides on property. And it's just classic Disney dark ride. Classic. There's so many cool effects. You got Pepper's Ghost.
You do have Pepper's Ghost.
So cool. And a lot of this stuff, these effects were effects that they put in way back in the day. And they still hold up. They still hold up today. And just the spooky feelings. And I love the fact that one half of the ride is like spooky scary, and the other half is like we're having fun. Like we're not scared anymore. Well, maybe we are scared, but we're having fun. I like that so much. I just love it. And so I mean, I don't know if you need to know my score, but it's a 10. I love this ride. I love it so much. It's a 10 for me, dog.
I am going the same route. It's a 10 for me as well. I love this ride too. It was hard for me. I told you earlier, Big Thunder Mountain was my favorite, and I gave it a 10. Haunted Mansion is also one of my favorites, and this is a must ride every time we're there. The last time we did it twice, and it's so much fun. Like you said, the two different rides you're kind of getting, beginning and end. It's great, and I just love seeing the dancing ghosts in the graveyard at the end. They're so much fun. I collect items that have the hitchhiking ghosts on them. My wife loves to do that as well. It's her favorite ride. So glad that we're both giving that a 10. So we bounced around a little bit, and we got to get back over into Fantasyland. We forgot one. We did. It's a Small World is over there that we missed. I enjoy this ride. It's another one of those that has historical significance. There's that term again. It debuted at the 1964-65 World's Fair, which I think we need to do a show sometime about the World's Fair and what it did for the company. I've been reading some stuff from Disney recently, and I didn't realize how much it really did beyond what we know of the rides that came out of it and the advancements that he was able to make in that time. Um, but I think we should probably do a show about that sometime. Let us know, you guys, if you would like to see a show or hear a show about the World's Fair. Okay, It's a Small World. Love or hate the song, I love it. I have no problems with it. Um, it's still a great ride. I love watching those little dolls dance. Um, I will give it an 8. I really enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I have no problem with the song. But then again, I'm the type of person that will listen to the same song for like 5 days in a row, just straight, just like listening to it. So that's the type of person I am. But I don't know. When I recently wrote it, I think I had like a different thought of it in my mind because I hadn't written it for a long time. And I always thought that like each area had a room, and maybe it's that way in land, but that's not the case. And so everything is kind of like it's just all like one big show area, and you uh uh ride around in it, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know. It means a lot to the Disney company, and it's not a bad ride. It's just not something I get excited about. Um, I'm gonna give it a 6, just because it's like it's not 5 worthy, because like I will ride it, um, and like I think I might wait in a not a super long line, but like I'd wait in line to ride this ride. But yeah, I just there's not much pull for me, other than its place in history. So yeah.
Yeah, I another memory of my kids, my son banging his head on the front of the boat was near the end. I mean, it's always a good time. So if I could
Apparently, I
ever
just
get him
need to
on
have
it,
kids or something,
I'm right.
so I can have these amazing memories of them doing silly
It
stuff.
makes everything better. To torturing them with the song, you know.
I can see that.
Let's go over to the circus land. I can never remember the name. The
Oh, um, yeah, it does have its own separate name. It's not Circus Land.
no, it's not. Uh, anyway, it this is where Dumbo is stored. You get 2 Dumbo rides, which makes the line go a little quicker. The queue is pretty cool. If you have kids, they hand you a pager and they can go play, and you're called when it's your turn. Your turn.
I actually tried to let them let me in there, and the lady didn't let me.
Ah, that's too bad.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you now. But I mean, as you can see on the video, and I'm sorry if you're listening on the podcast, but you do get some nice views from it, and it's a good time. I'm going to give it a 6 because it is just a spinner ride. But if you are keeping score at home, that puts Dumbo at a 6, Astro Orbiter at a 4, and your favorite ride and mine, Aladdin, the carpets at Aladdin, a 2. So that's from me. So anyway, a 6.
Yeah, and I'm also going to give it a 6, just because it is the better Dumbo style ride, because it is Dumbo, than Magic Carpets of Aladdin. But again, and the funny thing is they've really started to market it towards kids, that area. And then again, like when I do have a kid that like wants to ride this ride, this is gonna be a great ride, because they do have that like little jungle gym where like you can just like chill and like wait until it's your time to ride the ride. So you're not just like standing in line all the time. I think that's genius. But yeah, it's very much a kid friendly ride. However, I do enjoy the updates that they did for it. It's a lot better of a ride because of a lot of that stuff. We actually got to ride it at night, and so a lot of like the lights in the water and everything was very cool. So that was fun. But again, it is kind of just your standard Dumbo ride. So I give it a 6.
Sounds good to me. Next door to yeah, I gave it away. Next door to oh my goodness. Next door to Dumbo is the Barnstormer. This is Goofy's Wild roller coaster. It's a short one. It's a great starting roller coaster for kids. I'm going to give this one a 4. And I would, if it's got a short wait, I would jump in line for it. It's got to be close to almost a walk on for me at this point, but it's worth running, if it's got a short wait.
Yeah, I actually would give this a 5. I do enjoy it, and it is kind of that smaller roller coaster. And I think the reason I'll give you a step into my brain is I would probably give the Hippogriff ride out at Universal also a 5, but this is a better 5. This is an exciting 5. I don't know what it is about the Barnstormer that, like, I mean, it's fun, and it's cool, and I don't know, it's a lot. I'm more excited about the Barnstormer than like a lot of other rides in that area too, but like in that zone of rides. So yeah, I'm giving it a 5, but it's like you did a good job 5.
You did a good job. All right, so finishing up, we started in Tomorrowland. We'll end on the edge of Tomorrowland with the Tomorrowland Speedway. This is one that I will typically skip. If I'm around those fumes too long, I get a pretty good headache. So I cannot tell you the last time I actually went on the Speedway. But teach their own. I think that this can be fun. The kids really like to drive themselves. So if you have a kid, I bet they'd enjoy it. Fun fact, top speed is 7 miles an hour.
Wow.
So something to think about on that. Yes, I don't know if I mentioned it. I am giving a 3 to this ride.
A 3. Okay. Well, I don't like this ride even a little. Like this is my least favorite ride on property. This is my least favorite ride of any rides anywhere ever.
Wow.
I just don't like it. It's
why don't you tell us how you feel?
And I don't know, maybe it's because I was like psyched that like they were putting in Tron Light Cycles, and I was like, they're finally getting rid of Tomorrowland Speedway, because like I just have never liked that ride. And then they were like, no, we're just gonna make it a little shorter, it'll be fine. No, just get rid of it. But yeah, and again, also this might be a fun ride if I had a little kid to ride with, but I don't, and I'm not going to. And I probably won't even like this ride when I do have a kid and I'm making fun memories with them. But I can't. And it just feels weird in that area because like there's nothing Tomorrowland about it. It's just like cars on the street racing, which like sounds like it would be cool, but it's not. And it just like doesn't make sense with anything. So it's infuriating. So I'm giving this a 1.
Whew.
Yep.
You really like that one.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good list of rides.
Mm-hmm.
We hit up 20 of them, and this list was built, basically everything we could think of that is a ride that you have to get on and move in.
Mm-hmm.
We had a debate ahead of time about what shows we might want to include. And when it really came down to it, we thought, let's take this 20, leave it at 20. Those other shows and quasi rides, maybe they could fit in some way, shape, or form. But this was the list that we had come up with as quote unquote rides. So we'd love to hear about that on your end. Let us know what you think of our scores. Let us know on Facebook before we give you our final information here. Make sure you get out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the TikToks. Mikhailo, you just put a new TikTok out, didn't you?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I think people enjoy it, so go check it out.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely hit us up out there. We have a group called the Miles from Main Street Community out on Facebook. We'd love to have you join us out there and converse. We've had some people showing us pictures from their trips. We've had people, just kind of giving us those crazy memes here and there. So come on out and join us there. It'd be great to have you. Mikhailo, what else you got?
That's it. I am just waiting to hear these scores because I am on the edge of my seat to see where things came out.
Yes, I am having
You are currently
here.
calculating. Right. He's currently.
All right, I got it.
I
got it. It's fun to do some of this stuff on the fly.
Yeah. Right?
All right. So, do you want me to start at the low end, or do you want to hear the high end first?
Yeah, let's start at the low end.
All right. So, Tomorrowland Speedway, you'll be happy to know, is at the bottom. Yes.
No.
A score. We give it a score of 4.
4.
All right. Heading up the list, we have Magic Carpets of Aladdin, Prince Charming's Carousel, and the Astro Orbiter, all coming in at a 7. Full ranking of a 7. So if you're keeping track at home, that's a 4 to a 7. That's how much Mr. Naherniak over there does not like Tomorrowland Speedway.
Don't like it.
All right, Barnstormer coming in with a 9. That's our number 16. Let's see. Mad Tea Party is going to be an 11, a score of 11, along with Carousel of Progress.
Okay.
Dumbo is coming in with a 12. We both gave that a 6. Buzz Lightyear, if they would fix the guns a little bit, this could be a little higher. That's going to get a 13 from us.
Okay.
Moving up, we got Three-Way Tie at 14, a score of 14. That is going to be It's a Small World, Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and Space Mountain.
Oh, wow.
At a score of 14. Right above that with a 15 would be Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Wow.
Yes. My girls would probably be happy to hear tied with a score of 16 is Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid, Peter Pan's Flight, and The People Mover.
Okay, yeah.
So those all came in at a 16. So here comes our top 5.
Wow. Okay, here we go.
All right, top 5 with a score tied at 17. You're getting Big Thunder Mountain and the Jungle Cruise.
Okay, yeah.
So both rides that I gave higher scores to. Number 3 with a score of 18, Splash Mountain.
Yeah, I like it.
And number 2, score of 19, Pirates of the Caribbean.
The Caribbean, yeah.
Caribbean. I don't know. Anyway, number 1. I bet you don't know what it is. We both gave it a 10. Haunted Mansion. It's got the perfect score.
Yeah. I like it. I'm happy.
We've made Mikhailo's night.
Yes.
We want to hear about it from you guys too. What did you think? Does Haunted Mansion deserve that perfect score? We want to hear about it. So, as I said, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all under some sort of Miles from Main Street. You'll find us out there quite easily. and the TikTok, Miles from Main Street 71, correct?
Yep. Correct.
So join us out there. Please share out this stream. Let everybody know that you're loving us and we're loving you. And it's, it's a great time out here.
Yeah, and I thought this was fun. This is our first YouTube video, or second YouTube video, but first time we're recording the podcast. So you'll be able to find this this recording on any of your normal podcast areas. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, thank you for listening. And if you want to see what we looked like on YouTube, you can check that out too. But that's all we got for you guys tonight. And as we always say, some live close,
but others don't.
So let's talk about it. We'll see you next time on Miles from Main Street.